Shedang zoye sonam lo chanjo bado dane jaso. Dabe jinso jebe sonam je dola benje sanje do baraisho. Sanje shedang zoye sonam lo chanjo bado dane jaso. Dabe jinso jebe sonam je dola benje sanje do baraisho. Sanje jedam zoje zonam la janju bardo dani jason. Dabe jinso jebe zonam je ndola benje sanje do baraisho.
From
now until I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And then I create in this practice.
May I attain the state of Buddhahood.
To all sentences.
From now on, I take refuge in Buddhahood.
The Dharma and the Sangha. When I create in this practice, and I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, I attain the state of Buddhahood. Oh. 지라마기 타마데 올레데스 벳사야마로 지라마.
사야마. 안세 안디네가 전부 이거를 같이. 인디는 계속 리비지가 좀 되게. 인디는 제 그런 로스 리비 남자는 가봐지려나. 어디 있어요? 리비 남자 어디 네가 잘. 아, gerçi 리비지잖아 가상아마. 근데 내가 저기기는 몽골등에 라켓도 벤지기 다 켈링그레스 송거라. 다 라켓도 벤지기 다데 그상지 지기 튀어당서. 이 라켓도 벤지기 다신 이나 간디시 요거를 지디가라. 가자기 다메기 컵 가자 라켓도 봐. 출니 라켓도 이나 간디시 요거르잖아. 다체섬. 아니 최진기 최강 임바테 땅 랑기 다지 참 텔라 말테퍼 다 다지 풍보다 텔라 말테퍼 풍보로 왕 규박되고 배 뽐베출도 배 주르듯이 그런 배 왕쟁인다고 된지지 요이나 라게트 빈지수 요소라지 이요바된 디나라 세보지도 어디 라게트 빈제수연한 딘디지요 고르스 디지 교샤메르 세고다이
강사기 당매기 급기 각지 랑자 투베 투스니 다치 좀 자진 주는 대랑기 닥시 암 차시더라 파르마테 버금범 지오도 한게도 봐. Last time, we were talking about the one sub-school of the Great Exposition School, as or accept self-sufficient, self-sufficiently existing self. If you remember that, word self-sufficient, not exactly sure that is the exact word or not. Self-sufficient,
Inherent?
Self-sufficient. Substantial entity, probably that might be. So, somebody asked what, what is that kind of self. And the text, this one, this is the text by the Kunchen Jaman Shepa, and in the text, what is self-sufficient, substantial self. Here it says that the self which exists, it used the example or metaphor that it exists like a leader or like a king. The understanding, I guess, that the existing of the self independently without relying upon the basis of the designation or imputation. So the understanding that self exists independently and without at all relying upon its basis of imputation or designation. And so this kind of image of self, that self exists independently without relying upon. So this is what it means here, self-sufficiently self-sufficient substantial entity of so basically self which exists independently without kind of not relying upon aggregates or its basis of designation.
ngarazo da siduala pumbule main kenji shibade main kenji zurdu yobazon ji duasi jazatati pumbula wang girbatabu pumbudo wang wa phage jebantabu dichomde nende nala pumbongano kuru koapone kaza ko zede kurde pumbonga de kuruwa porto zurdu yobazin sundwa di indigala ta zurdu pumbule zurdu ngochi bisudu yora ngo tape tu sudu yora zere pa jibdu diwa tangdo digala ni lo membata pe phage jeta moyna ni deba chege na mangur dengagi pumbul ngochi tu yoba de jodmes labshig mindusi kota labhan shig mindusi ngo tate de yesde labhan shig mindusi jodmes te to pusla ti indigala ta tila indigala ngaran su nyamyung san da nga sigdo nga singdi kande jire samda ni shepa sidigala shepa la zurdu yobachi kogudwa ni phungbo sidigala shepa la zurdu yoba jisang shepa dang phungbo dang dedala wang gyurbabal tabu konampe zurdu yoba zanji dwa tatin jestu banze min zimbadela gas rakyat bin jegi rajla.
So in our ordinary thought, when we talk about self, we have a kind of understanding that self is not aggregate, this body, and self is also separate from consciousness. So there is a self which is neither this body nor the consciousness. And when we speak, we say like, this is my consciousness, as if my and the consciousness is two separate things, and this is my aggregate, this is my body, and again, there's a separation of self and the aggregates. So the idea behind here is that there is an assumption that my is the king, the owner of this aggregate, and the my is kind of also the leader. That the text scripture says that mine is the one that kind of take control or dominate of this consciousness or aggregate. So and this one sub school, I think the Sanskrit word is Vatsiputriya, the sub school actually of the Great Exhibition School, which we discussed this before. They asserts unexpressible self. So, but they rely upon Buddha's sutra. In the sutra, the quote we mentioned this before, that five aggregates are a burden, and the one that carries the burden is the self. So when you look at this sutra, it seems to be saying that there's a self and there is an aggregate, two different entity, and the self is the one that carries these, all aggregates. So, so when you ask, this question to the sub-school of this, great evolution school, what is the nature of self? Is nature, is self same with the or one with the aggregate? They say that the answer is we cannot express this clearly. And again, you ask the question: is self same or is one nature with the consciousness? The answer is basically the same. It's unexpressible. We cannot put in words. So therefore, in this sub-school, they accept kind of self, which they says cannot be expressed. So the self-sufficient substantial entity refers to this kind of self, self which exists independently, which has its own substantial entity, and which is like a ruler, which is the leader of aggregates or consciousness.
Other those kansa ranket win say that kesi you the pejana din du sundwa pe Pumba ranket win this you na kandisi yogu Pumba the chashi chujapsula maltebar ransus tubaji yona ranket win this you are sundwa Pumpe chu jap chashi la malteba Koran pe zur tu ji yoina Pumba the ranket win this you are that in a that young Pumbodan, Shebadan, Tendilla Maltebra, Sutu to Vagina, Ranket Vinci, they that you saw it. He pays several to Atizo.
She doesn't ranget with our Yomarisra.
Is Chidan Ranket Vinci, Rayomar, you're not in Gio.
So here, in the text also says that although this kind of self, which is self-sufficiently, a substantial entity existing independently, this self doesn't exist in reality. But if it does exist, then hypothetically it says that if it exists, then it should exist in such a way that that kind of self, when it used the example of pot, the pot should exist independently, not relying upon at all to its parts, different parts of the pot. So when you use this same understanding with a person, then there should be person or self existing independently, not relying at all upon the aggregates or its different components that build or that construct a self. But if it does exist, it should be existing in this way, which it doesn't in reality.
The Saldados on Tati, Trusachi, Pagi, Zegi the that killing in do, say. Kevakashi is Sungur killing in do, say. Kevakashi is Sungur killing to Sonramado, killing your marriage. Dita Zegi that killing Nayang, the Napa Maim your marriage. Chinangi to Tamai Kebate Kanichi Gorzana, Chagajin and Gam. Damete kele malen chabai chai kisi nge damete ne pe ta jinang chi gito me damete ti ta phage karsa ne mabube killing re se sondo dusini kyongpong dusnang gdo
so
yang go chu gores
so this is kind of important to understand this what kind of self that they are asserting here. And we also mentioned this before. So there are different interpretation by different scholars about how self is interpreted by this sub-school. And some scholars says that yes, this sub-school accepts this kind of self, which exists independently without relying upon its aggregates. And then some scholars says that no, they don't. In reality, they don't accept this kind of self. But the way they interpret, it looks like they are accepting, but in reality they don't. But the general understanding here is that even if they accept this kind of self, it doesn't make them non-Buddhist. In order to be a non-Buddhist, what kind of self that somebody is accepting is, we mentioned this before, self from the four seals. And that self is, self which is permanent, which is single, and which is independent. And if you accept that kind of self, then that clearly makes you, kind of non-Buddhist, but this sub-school, they does exist, accept kind of self, independent existing, but it doesn't, exclude them from Buddhism. They are still, Buddhist. They are still the proponents of the Buddhist tenets.
다 낭피 지난기 개발돼 김르군제 지난기 두다마이 개발돼 다 덴바투바 케렘바다 말룸베더니 독수용고고 아레스 두 7월박이 다 덴바투바 체동아도 tum네 에니페 다 딘tum도 바다 낭비 다티 덴바마바 tum네 데메투 켈렘바 가 Dungo, Druba, anyway, that Zember Druba, Duminde, Chirolpa, that Zember Tuba, Gong in the Nangpa. Chazam Tigan Capitan was to the my capital.
So basically here, 2 points to understand. The first is, of course, what is the thing that differentiate whether one is class where one is a Buddhist or non-Buddhist, and we know that's a refuge. If you have a refuge, you are Buddhist, and if you don't have a refuge, non-Buddhist. And the second point is how do you know that or what kind of makes you proponents of Buddhist tenets? And for that, it comes down on whether one accepts the inherent existence of the self. So in Buddhism, Buddhists negate this kind of self which exists, which has an inherent which is inherently existing. This kind of self is deliberately negated, and But when you look at the non-Buddhist school, they intentionally, deliberately, try to accomplish or come to the conclusion that yes, self does exist, inherently, or self has a true existence, and Buddhist is the opposite. Self doesn't has a true existence. It's a lack of inherent existence.
That those that thing that lamgi pancha nyumonche maimba niche nyumonche sidigala 타게투 답에 도자제당 공동 아잠마리바 타왈라서 버투 다티수 뉴모쟁기 리바인디가라 답하게 타르버투발한 게제지 시진 리발한 게징인데 바 상기 고방 다 제미지비 시 토발한 게징인데 가르즈드가라 미시비 유지스 어다 디디 개발쟁고도 남 상 남편한테 켈린 거 말. 제가 뭐 그러는구나. 제 미시비 시라 그래. 어떻게 토발한 게 적인데 미시비 유지지. 어떻게 시 미시비 유지데 지대 안에 배 디신샵에 취습진 차와 미시비 녀모지 많이 벤 리비 유지스가라. 아니 뭐 타요 왕 미시 그 봐. 뒤리용 왕기 미시 봐. 도스체네 가르타크상이 이 시대 땅인데 되게 연구도 도스체네 연구하라 돼 가제 땅이 랍샤고 어저진이 진감데 율하장 타리우 왕기 니네 어저진이 진감 라 가르치기 위해 따당가 시기 말와 디 율하장 타라고 하면 시버지 그래 아니 뭐 타요 왕기 미시 봤으디가라 얘니 딩 단당 아주 배 미통야가 즉 샤자징 덴디배 심진 타모드네 미통 빼먹 보여래 어다 되게 거랑 하장 오 타모선데 미시바래 라 그래 얘니 시즌 넘버 타이브고는 미시바 직직 얘니 상기기에 얘니 배 후송투기 연된데서 나랑도 거도 교과 미시바 직 어도 도스지네 미시비 규지데 얘니 배 제미시비시 토발라 자거래
To review what we covered, it's on page 205. Also the object abundant by the path. So what they abundant or eliminate, so for that they are two kind of, afflictive, there are two ignorance. The first one is afflictive ignorance, and second is non-afflictive ignorance. And for the afflictive ignorance, they mainly, these ignorance are, these are the main that prevents attaining of liberation, and these are, they have. If you look at the first paragraph on page 205 says, desire, hatred, ignorance, and basically they are, kind of 6 basic, root, afflictions. And the second types of, ignorance, they call it non-afflictive ignorance. And non-afflictive ignorance mainly prevents attainment of all knowingness. And again, when you look at the word, they don't use word enlightenment or Buddhahood. They just say that, all knowingness. And so the illustration of these 4 non-afflictive ignorance are, we mentioned last, the 4 causes of non-knowingness. And if you look at your note, it says, due to distant place of the object, due to distant time, and due to nature of the object. And so here they are 4, but they just so the example for these 4 would be, for example, the first one. We also mentioned this last time. Distance, place. The direct translation would be a place of radiant light or radiance. That place is considered as extremely far away from us. So basically, we are kind of, our knowledge of understanding of that, place is, not sufficient. It's because too far away from us. This the second is because of the subtlety of the nature of the object, and they are like spirits that exist among us, but they are too subtle for us to perceive. So therefore, they also become one category of object of not knowing or non-knowingness. And then next would be the different aspects of the Buddha or enlightened beings. Their knowledge, their good qualifications are kind of unlimited for us to understand. 샤서지 넘버 타입은 구수 두고 연대선데.
구수 두고 연대 뭐.
넘버 타입도 가르쳐 가래.
시지 넘버 타입.
The qualities of the Buddhas, like physical, verbal, and mental qualities, these are all kind of, to us, these are all hidden or too profound to understand. And this is one category. And the last one is unlimited numbers of the, object of knowledge or phenomena or things. These are, because of the too broad or too extensive, the nature of the object or phenomena for us, it is, kind of, because of the intensity or profundity, or for us it becomes, hard to understand everything. So these are the 4 kind of groups of category that are, the non-knowingness or not, understanding.
시베자와 타게도 시드가라 단다디 도샤제당 공동하게 마리발 따와라서 바테기디 코로 코르체레스고 마리바존지 데 시베자와레스 다 누모락 바차디로 다 디니마 데레바 인제게 강자가 단진 시베자와샤 디님 바게 우마바데도 최기 단진 시베자와샤 도스치네 타루고도
So when you look at the the root cause of the cyclic existence, according to this school, Great Exposition School, they cite I think in your text probably, maybe they cite 6 root ignorance. Attachment. So these 6 are mentioned in the root text of the Abhidharma Kosh treatise of knowledge. The first one is attachment, and second is hatred, anger, pride, and ignorance. And the 6 is the view, attachment, hatred, anger, pride, ignorance, view. These are considered as the wrong view. These are the 6 root causes of the cyclic existence. And based on the different school of thoughts, as you go up higher and higher, it gets subtler and subtler. So according to the Sutra school, which is the second highest school, they for them the root cause of the cyclic existence is self-grasping, grasping to the self. And according to the middle way school, the root cause of the cyclic existence is grasping to the self of phenomena, or self phenomena grasping.
어두스지는 타락의 개발 연구도 왔을 때도 삼당에 이사를 시작하래. 얘는 람가데 솔람절람 통로 고나고나 멜로라다 같이 다티 시다도스지. 아니 그 지리니다 단단도 말하지만 사람들은 람소소고 고다 판자다 강가게 버려 연구로 와. 아니 다 디비 드술들에 Tene ta pagi nyenteri jingi kandi seyene pe midas juturo tsesona kupsone kumbarchene tar doje dengi ku doje dengi tingin doje tabi tingin gono doje tabi tingin jina tene ani nyumo jingin dibat pangche ne rajumite bungondu chukre siru tabuna ne kanzara ke dwenje geda 은배다메 보험제니 디 동화도비 같이 yar라서 봐. 아니 라메 소페 솔람졸람 menchedu nyamsolane jolamtone milone tendo chilangund chigre sadado usjene dibutubsude to shigare oda tegdi dire ne gending nishu ka ngana gemdena 사기 건조 최건조 gending 건조 세기도 다 gending nishu 세래 gending 건조 나 gending gending tichariore dila ne be unique gi namja tigire de chijarwa pangja ne chijar pangya tendi killing mare sita jarama thumama inga chareje oda tezo chik samai ombajena yabore bage ona jarama iglola kandes dibungundu chigi mete ta thumama inga chareore tezo ji samtana yabore.
About the nature of the path, it's on page 206. They asserts the presentation of 5 paths. Path of accumulation, preparation, seeing, path of meditation, and then no more learning. And here it is not mentioned a detail, but if maybe later if you go through the text, ground and path, in that text it tells detail about about these 5 paths, and what is the nature or meaning of the path, and what are the object of elimination of each path. But we won't be going into detail. So just 5 path, presentation of the 5 path, and when you look at the fruits of the path, the result of the path, page 210, they mention about how within the Lysavical hearers lineage attain their result, and also solitary realizer. So page 210 there says that those of the hearer lineage become familiar with the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths, impermanence and so forth, during 3 lifetimes or more. By relying on the Vajra-like meditative stabilization of the hearer path of meditation, they finally abandon the afflictive obstructions by ceasing their obtaining causes. And also they say that, the paragraph below, solitary rhinoceros-like solitary realizer practice the realization that the person is empty of substantial existence in the sense of being self-sufficient. They do this in conjunction with amassing a collection of merit for 100 great eons and so forth. And then in one sitting, they actualize the stages from the heat of the path of preparation through to and including the path of no more learning. And also on page 211, last paragraph, with respect to hearers, they enumerate a presentation of 20 members of the spiritual community. So spiritual community or Sangha member, and this is, Sangha member from the 3 objects of refuge. And along with the 8 approachers and abiders, but however, they do not assert that anyone simultaneously abandon the afflictive emotions. So you can see how they assert abiders and approachers. So these are some kind of unique interpretation by this school of thought, Great Exposition School.
디니다 디바 첨보스인데 다디 켜버 첨보지 차버려요. 장사는 게 설렁기 내가서 갈전점에 숨도 소소 버째 징스. 다 그런 장주세 봐. 아니 디바 첨보기 디 이나 가르잖아. 설렁기 내고 코란을 갈전점에 숨고 소소 그래 이제 소리. 다 두다 꼬마 시디가라 된데 말이야. 뭐니 터용 그러대. 갈치 땅보 초저기 값서 갈치 땅보 아니 마다 사딘 값도 갈치 니바 마다 사딘제데 사땅보는 돈 바버더래 다바 섬순이 개바 구바 주바 숨더래 데라 갈치 숨바스 또 도수지 자거래 두다 꼬마 단 딜라페 그럼 사람 기내 값도 갈치 타면 숨도 소소 버지 징세데 데 조니 애니 가바야 천상 유튜브 그래스 다 좀베 파게 천상의 유튜브 시바타메시 장주 신run도 아니 배 장선 시바타마와 장주 신run라도 아도제 된데 아니 배 파게 무대 트리제도아 어디 인도인데 아니 배 우공라 냠바자 졸람 통음 공람 좀 문제 제네 토랑 계란 차와잖아 아니 밀로럽 상이 고방 문제 제바래 세워다 도스치네 이거래 근데 다 파게 제바중이 나네 solo dunduwa yenche jansangi tseparesi sosukiyon tseparesi ta sangyewen tsepa chokorkowen tsepa nyangalin deben tsepa te sumde ane sangyewen tseparesi sangyewen tsepa lan tsepa chungni jago markaje wata doksuche ti kibar chagore.
And another unique interpretation of this school is, it's on page 214. The collection of merit, the collection of merit and wisdom. So according to this school, it says that these all the collection of merits for 3 eons. It's all completed during the path of accumulation from the 5 path. So when the practitioner is at the level of path of accumulation, path of accumulation, collection of merits is done within that path. But when you look at the higher school of thoughts, they have a totally different interpretation of where at what stage does practitioner accumulates these 3 eons of collection of merits. So according to the higher school, first 100 eons, it's completed during path of accumulation and path of preparation. So, among the 5 path of preparation and accumulation, they will finish, collection of 100 eons. And then second group is completed during, they call 7 stages of impure ground. And that is, from ground first to ground first to ground 7. It's just, there's no specific name, but just name, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and up to 7. These are all, up to 7 is called impure ground. So within that range, they finish this, accumulations of second set of 100 eons. And then third set of 100 eons is completed during, they call it pure, pure, grounds, or pure bhumis, that is, 8, 9, and 10. So you can see here, how the higher school of thoughts kind of categorize, accumulations of positive merits within, a whole kind of 10 grounds and 5 paths. And again, the another difference that you can see here is, the 12 deeds of, Buddha Shakyamuni, historical Buddha, and they says that from first to, first to 9, it's on page 215 at the top middle of the sentence of the first paragraph. Of the 12 deeds, the first 9 are asserted to be the deeds of bodhisattvas, and 1 to 9 is the how bodhisattvas did, not enlightened being. And then 10, 11, and 12 are the deeds of the Buddha. So the last 3 are attaining of the enlightenment and turning the wheel of Dharma and passing away. These are the 3 final deeds that is of the Buddhas.
Oda yang jeramae chogor ina thonami bikyap. Lungi chogorla dinji chogori bikyap. Tate sikore. Oda ti yang tobe chogorla thonam bikyap da lungi chogorla dinji chogor mada chogor jinda khelingo mares.
Again, on page 215, just the second paragraph, the proponents of the great exposition essay that will of doctrine, or turning of the doctrine, is necessarily a part of seeing, and that the verbal will of doctrine is necessarily a will of doctrine of the 4 truths. So, other than these 2, they don't, assert the doctrine of teaching, so turning the will of Dharma.
Wada chansam sipatham bi chansam mundu jibe neni dogon konang ba omin to buko ba lungi namja khimile no se ta kesan diga jagare tere maze namke mindo to se ta taki ngi juson zemijbi shi se mado namken degu mares namken kim mindo to se tebo sungin rajumla laje bi kapdes ta de kesan di diniru garda tebo sum sedigala nyentwe rangal kijin sumni rajamba ina lache sikwa rajambala lache bi kyapdi lami nyangan ndebese marme shiwata riba gunche par to ndebichirse takrang chadamagi sangi chomdende sangiene phungbu lama yores karzana ngami phungbu ani pe lengi phambe phande res ngore tindigala ta rajamba ina chipare ngamo lengi phambe phagi phande di lama de chiba yo insa ti dungal den bare ti yore ti inde lachin rajambas phungbu lama da chiba yo insa lachin rajambas villa page zemi nyomoche mayim bindibaji pangna yang tadung phungbu lama yores pata ti chine lachin rajambas gore ta lamen rajamba thobi ondigala petiga riba gunche chene ne pe sangi sandu gres riba gunche gres kroedi bi riba tiba ta cheramoy riba gunche dugor ta te riba gunche gres tena thirdu theba sundur tu bar khele no ta riba gunche de indigala nyinde giri chende nyinde kona mada tini yandro sa meache raja richende raja lame la phoi indigala raja tartu kinti bu thobre isi chanju seba in ta chanju seba ina zemi ji shi thob indigala kona tartu kinti bu thob sore eni ti bage tendi indigala tartu ki thabada sumre se ta tu sin to gora riba gunche kelembe neki ta tartu theba sum to tuwa de gora
Page 216. Middle paragraph. The place where bodhisattvas actualize enlightenment during their last lifetime is definitely just the desire realm. Therefore, the proponents of the great exposition do not assert a presentation of heavily adorned highest pure land or in enjoyment body. 217. Not only this, but they also do not accept omniscience, because they only assert all knowingness, as mentioned above. All four destroyers of the three vehicles have a nirvana with remainder, because they assert that when one attains a nirvana without remainder, there is a severing of the continuum of consciousness, like the extinction of a flame. Hence, they assert that there are three final vehicles. So here, they interpret, kind of nirvana with and without remainder, or you can say leftover. So here, leftover or remainder refers to this, aggregate. So even, somebody attained, according to, this school, omniscience, they still have this kind of leftover, aggregate, leftover suffering from their past karmic. So they have this, leftover body, which is the result of, the past karma, negative karma. And once they become kind of, nirvana without remainder, they totally kind of there is a complete stopping of the stream of consciousness of the cyclic existence. Samsaric consciousness has completely come to the end, when they attain the nirvana without remainder. And so hence they assert that there are three final vehicles. So the assertion of the three final vehicles, these three final vehicles are, the nirvana without remainder of the hearers, solitary realizers, and the bodhisattvas. And according to this school, they says that there are three final vehicles, which means if you start from the hearers, you will reach to the end of the hearers, and that is the one complete set. And then solitary realizers, you start and you will come to the end of it. So they are complete kind of three vehicles, beginning and end, and begins and end. It's not kind of sort of one stream of vehicle. Rather, there are three vehicles.
Keba kachigi tomba nyangal len debe se dulja ngaji ngor kuzu kopa diba saminki tola nyangal len depa meji me warni nyada nyuma se balta bo stati tuta koma da omani ge deba se sore se gor karzana ta tuta kome tumo mai ba che ondo gala tumo mai be ngola sangi nyangal deba yo mare chirin jin tutare ani ngara zo duji che chabe duja khaji age nidaba toya ke tontala ani sangi kuzu dibare se tanda tuta mailu la dus cheta mailu la dus shebaina tuta komen lu da omani ga se jare de mares cheta maula gola koran pette terdu tabasum riba ginchaban de yonde gala terdu tabasum de yonde gala bagi endi ke kache shasan ru mares sungware odati indu gala bagi cheta maula la ni tuta komen lu de omen lu la sigyu amare susungwarta sangi phabe dugu malu ba phankyang tigula duden yo ba mengal de is ta chera maoi kala pandeng killing korwa pang den alten se kore ti tati pandeng killing ba de tigaran to la sangi phabi dugu malu ba phankyang tigula duden yo ba mengal de duden la meaning mo malu ba phamba na dude phamba job chiris oda dus chire cha chera maoi pangden sing the killing war raja themba sangje ne duden le mi be phum dungal demba le mi be nyomo pa insa duden pa mares tadum phubula ma yor se sungorwa phubula ma de duden re sungorwa tindi pangden kele ko te to
Page 217. Some propound that the teacher, Buddha, merely withdrew a creation of his body from the sight of certain trainees when he passed from suffering, entered parinirvana, that is, at the time of his death. and did not actually pass from suffering or completely vanish. This is similar to a confusion of fish and turnips. So according to Great Exposition School, they are saying that this kind of interpretation that Buddha actually didn't pass, in reality, is they are saying that it's just a confusion. They are mixing like fish and turnips. Page 218 next. Buddha's superiors have abandoned all sufferings and their origin without exception, and yet it is not contradictory that true sufferings exist within their continuum. So this is because when all afflictive emotions that take true sufferings as their objects are abundant, this is posited as the abandonment of the true sufferings. So here, this interpretation basically, they says that they eliminated everything, all object of abandonment, but they still possess, the object of elimination. So they use, they says that although the omniscient mind completely eliminated all, truth of suffering, but they still have a truth of suffering, referring to the, as said before, remainder with this, this body. Yeah, the physical body is still there. So there is a, kind of leftover or resultant of the truth of suffering. So they eliminated truth of suffering, yet they, possess the truth of suffering. So this is the, kind of interpretation.
What is it?
We'll take a break here.